About to find out. Pacific time zone. So time's gonna change an hour ahead. Oh, oh my gosh, it's the worst.
Some of you might be wondering, what kind of idiot drives over 100 miles out of his way on a tiny dirt road in the middle of nowhere in a sparsely populated area in Alaska just to discover that the border is closed? Shouldn't he have known that you can't take the top of the world highway from Talk to Dawson City in September? What could possibly have gone wrong? Well, to explain that, we would need to rewind to much earlier that day.
So I'm on my way. I had stayed in an Airbnb last night outside of Wasilla, and I'm now heading toward Dawson City. It looks like it may be one of the only clear spots tonight, later tonight. To possibly see the aurora again, and it's right in the path after looking at the Alaska, University of Alaska forecast. So I'm going to get up there, try to find some water. I may head up to see if I get into Ogilvie Mountains, Ogilvie River, across from Tombstone, up from Tombstone entrance a little bit. But that's up the Dempster, and the Dempster's pretty nasty, so I don't know how far up that highway I'm going to go.
Wait a second. Some of you may have just caught one of the main reasons for me obliviously driving into the middle of nowhere to reach a closed border. Let's back up a little bit. A little bit more, and there. There are a couple reasons why I wasn't looking for this particular sign on September the 12th, but I really should have seen it and stopped. Maybe they could put up a bigger sign saying something like, border closed, no entry to Canada 107 miles beyond this point, but I definitely blew past this little sign without stopping. But more on that later. Chicken. I need some gas from the town of Chicken, possibly. You see gas sign. I see it marked off, so there's no gas there. Ruh-roh. God, there's no real good place to turn around, is there? Town of Chicken, next left. Gold Pen or something gas, diesel. However, I drove past this.
Jeez. Oh, I missed that. Okay, here's the chicken something. There's a sign for pie, beer. Looking for gas. There it is. They were closing up for the winter. They said next week they're closed. They might close on Friday. Today's Monday. And they're packing up for, I guess, their move south. And they're expecting snow, you know, any day now. When it starts snowing, it's just going to snow until May, June. So, yeah. I'm glad those guys were open. And if I had tried this next week, then they wouldn't have had gas either. So, from here to Dawson, I now have $3.98. I filled up for like $60 and gave them a tip. Because I was just so grateful. Because I don't know, there's no guarantee. Like maybe I get to the next little one-horse town and they're closed.
For 79 miles, continue straight.
Where's border inspection? Oh, let's do this. Customs, a little rest area right here.
So other than missing the rather small sign back at the turnoff to Top of the World Highway, what other reasons would I have for arriving at a closed border checkpoint in the middle of nowhere? Well, I do actually have a couple of excuses other than being a complete idiot. The border checkpoint at the Top of the World Highway is officially known as the Poker Creek Port of Entry. The problem that I ran into is the fact that there's a lot of ambiguity in terms of how long this border crossing stays open every year. I searched on Google after I got home, and the first article that popped up stated that it's generally open from mid-May to mid-October, or until the first good snowfall. Another stated that it would close on September 7, another said September 5, and yet another said it would close on September 1st. I should definitely have checked before leaving on my trip, but to be honest, it never occurred to me that the border crossing would close while the roads were free from snow and the leaves were still changing. Secondly, Google Maps failed to show the border crossing as being closed on September the 12th. You can actually hear Google telling me that it's 75 more miles to Dawson City on this video as I approached a turnoff after leaving Chicken. I generally punch in Apple Maps as well just to confirm that my route will be the fastest, and I'm pretty sure Apple didn't show Highway 5 from Tetland Junction was closed either. Interestingly, when I tried to see if Google would show an open border crossing from Wasilla to Dawson City in the winter just before posting this video, the Top of the World Highway would not come up at all. When I searched on Google Maps for Poker Creek Port of Entry just now, it showed up as permanently closed. I was unable to confirm this, but my gut feeling is that they show it as permanently closed just to make sure it doesn't show up as a route during the winter. I'm guessing it will open again in May of 2023, but if you're thinking of crossing between Fairbanks and Dawson City this summer or next fall, it's highly recommended that you contact 511yukon.ca before setting off from either Dawson City or from Tok in Alaska. I was obviously disappointed that I would miss my chance to see the aurora that night, as there was no way to make it to Dawson City, as I'd been driving all day and the sun was now sinking lower in the northern sky. I did happen to notice a large number of trucks arriving with ATVs, and it occurred to me that this must be the beginning of the hunting season in Alaska. I drove back to Tok looking for a place to pull over for the night, and eventually found a pullout on Highway 2. I decided I would try for Dawson City again the next day, but only if there was a clear sky in the forecast.
Getting a little bit of a sunrise in front of me now, starting to glow red. I thought I'd be passing the U.S. border, Canada 42, so maybe it's not for another 42 miles. Hours and 20 minutes to Whitehorse means I'll roll into town around noon. So yeah, I'm gonna get to Whitehorse and then make some decisions about how to get to Dawson City.
being on the Alcan Highway in September. Maybe just anytime. It's just there's nobody. There's like a car way out there. One car.
welcome to Hyder. So I guess that was the border. I do see somebody behind me. I don't know if there's like a time limit. Makes me nervous because that other place. And then do I need to, you know what? I think I might just go back and ask them now. Just so I don't get stuck. Okay, so yes, they do have a border. Interestingly, US, nothing. Like, you can be a Canadian and bust your way into Hyder and no one gives a rat's. But if you're getting off a boat and you're trying to come into Canada, there's somebody there and they have arrive can, and then it's the honor system. They said if it's after 12, maybe there's a gate down. If it's after 12, you have to call somebody and then talk to them and they'll open the gate, I guess. But I'm not going to be here after 12. I'm going to be out of here. So that'd be an interesting story too, just to talk to that guy and see what happened during COVID, because they just locked all these people in here. They were stuck. Just past the sign for Tongass National Forest. I am heading northwest. Hyder is behind me. Still looking at some really nice looking canyons, valleys. Very Alp-like setting, lots of glaciers up above. There's a bear up here, he's a big one. Just walking away.
If you continue past the small coastal town of Hyder on the NFD 88, eventually the highway turns into a small logging or mining dirt road that dead ends up near a glacier at the end of the valley. I drove up while exploring the valley, but as the sun was quickly setting, I set off back towards the bay after an hour or so. On my way back, I slowed down near the area where I had seen the bear earlier and stumbled upon the Fish Creek Wildlife Observation Site. It turned out that Fish Creek was so named because so many salmon had made their way up to this location to spawn before ultimately dying in huge numbers every year. It also turned out that most of the bears in the area were very familiar with Fish Creek, as they were able to eat their fill every day, with hundreds of fish crowding upstream before finally just giving up. I was fortunate in that the bears were still in the area, even though it seemed to be a bit late in the season for the salmon run. These bears looked like they were stuffed, and they were now eating more because they were bored rather than hungry. If you do make the trip to Hyder, Alaska on the coast, the observation deck is a great way to view the bears without disrupting their habitat or putting yourself in danger. After watching the bears eat their fill, I drove down to look at the harbor before finding a camping spot at a pullout along the road on the way back. Before ending this episode, here are a few of the shots I took on the 3-day trip down to Hyder from Wasilla.